You're listening to the Youth Marketing Academy. Stay tuned for your daily dose of insights that matter.
Hi, this is Ghani Kunto with Graham Brown. Hi, Graham. How are you?
Hi, Ghani. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. So today, we'll be talking about one of the basics in marketing, which is, well, it's about selling the story of a product, right? Instead of just the product. That's how the whole idea about marketing exists. Is the fact that people don't buy the actual nuts and bolts of a product; they buy the story around it, and it's been like that since the beginning of time to this day. What has changed, what we're seeing has changed, is that the official story, the official story around the brand, the meaning around the product that the company has tried to create, just doesn't fly anymore with the market. The market wants to have something else. They have their own stories, right? In the books, we call this content versus context, where the content is the product and the context is the story and the meaning around the product, right?
It's the fundamental really of marketing. And what a marketer is about is creating context and curating context from the fan base. And I think we have to bear in mind, and we've pointed this out in our book, Youth Marketing 101, that content is what you make and context is what you mean. And the context really used to be defined by ad agencies back in the day. They would take your product and turn it into a story, but now that story is being told by fans, and therefore the story takes on an unofficial quality. So the brand may have an official story about who they think they are, but fans now are able to create their own versions. And this is creating some kind of maybe discourse in some areas and maybe conflict in others between brands and their markets, because they may not be able to rationalize or assimilate those differing versions of the story into their own brand template.
And I see this, that sometimes it actually you can actually uncover a large potential if you only hear the unofficial story, right? For example, like we talked about Nokia in the previous shows, and again, I think this is a great place to revisit this, because Nokia right now is struggling because the official brand story, it just doesn't mean anything to those who are fans, right? If you think about Nokia, well, if you go to the Nokia's official site, you'd see how the company is really trying to sell the products as the latest and the best design and all these things, right? But that's not what it means to the fans, right?
Yeah, Nokia's in an interesting situation that it has some great content, but it has no context. It doesn't have a story. It has its own version, which is created by the ad agency. But the fans have a different idea of what the Nokia is. And you can really see this contrasted if you take the Lumia phone and you contrast how Nokia is pushing the official story of the Lumia, and then fans aren't talking about Lumias, they're talking about the Nokia 3 series. And this is an old phone, Ghani. This is a phone which goes way back to 5-6 years ago. And fans are talking about that with some kind of meaning. And that's creating some kind of discourse between Nokia and their market.
Yeah, it's been called the bunker phone. We've seen people throwing the phone as a weapon instead of rocks. Yeah, and this is like literally too. Like it's not it's not just a Photoshop.
In a riot, there's that classic photo of somebody throwing a Nokia 3 series in a riot. And the caption reads, "That's just dangerous."
Yeah, exactly. It's been called the Chuck Norris of phones, right? Because this is that, and that's what it means to a lot of people. This is the one that will destroy all phones, or like destroy anything. This is just indestructible, right?
It's interesting, Ghani, because it's a characteristic that Nokia doesn't want to promote. It's got an authenticity as voted for by the market, not by Nokia's ad agency. And that authenticity is reliability, indestructibility. These are all positive qualities if built on properly. Take a brand like Toyota. Toyota has built the most profitable auto brand in the world. based on reliability. It's not the fastest, it's not the coolest, but it's the most profitable. And I think Nokia's issue is, it looks at what would be the industry equivalent of the Porsche and the Lamborghinis and so on, and thinks we want to be like that. But it's not like that, because the fans are saying, actually, you're Toyota to us. So that's the trouble, is not accepting what the fans have to say and trying to buy your context through, creative agencies, which just doesn't wash these days. People aren't listening to them.
Sometimes the things that you do is actually getting in the way of the fan story, right? I'm just thinking about like these memes, for example. The memes are, I think, great examples of people creating their own stories and then spreading them, right? Like the Chuck Norris memes or the Scumbag Steve memes or any of these memes.
Yeah, you need to have enough space in the story to allow the fans to actually write their own version, right? I mean, you take the classic example, you talk about Chuck Norris. I mean, he's obscure enough that people know he's a real guy. He existed at some point, but they don't know what movies he was in. Unless you're a kung fu fanatic, you wouldn't know where he was from. And most people don't know if he's alive or dead. So he's obscure enough, but real enough that you can write a story about him. You can sort of, make a Chuck Norris meme. But you compare that to with Bruce Lee, where everybody knows Bruce Lee. They know all the movies he was in. They know if he's alive or dead. They know that he was, from this area, and this is where he lived, and he went to Hollywood and so on. And there's been movies done about his life. People prefer to create memes out of Chuck Norris rather than Bruce Lee, and that's the kind of attitude that Nokia needs to take. They need to allow the fans to create on top of what they've made, not to give them the done deal and say, this is the official story, don't mess with it.
Yeah. Even if you don't say don't mess with it, but if you're so loud with the official story, then people don't have room to create, right? And it's and just looking at the things that have gone really popular recently, like the Gangnam Style video, for example, right? The music, the fact that people know it's from Korea and it's apparently about some area in Korea. I mean, that's what most people know, right? Some people don't even know what the song is saying or what the lyrics mean, but it just means something to them because their friend is into it, right? That's how you create meanings. If I think, let's say, the rapper like Psy just started going everywhere, and which is he's starting to do right now, and he's saying this is the official story. If it's pushing that, then it'll just kill the meme, right? It'll just kill the popularity of it.
Yeah, you've got to. I think if you put this into the context of Nokia, they've got to build on what they have already, and accept their authenticity as defined by the market, and not try and kill that with their official story. They have this reliability which they need to enhance over. The Apple iPhone is notoriously unreliable in comparison to the Nokia 3 series. I mean, obviously the functionality is very different, but that's his strength. But it's not just limited to the Nokia 3 series. There's a meme that was going around earlier in the year where somebody was in the riots in Syria, during the crackdown, the oppression, and was shot by one of the government troops, and took a bullet to the chest. But it just so happens that they had a Nokia X2 in their chest pocket, and the bullet was stopped by the Nokia and saved their life. And it's an incredible story. And the meme that was going around was, they would show this picture of the exploded Nokia X2, and underneath it there was somebody had drawn in the Nokia 3 series, and it was coming out saying, "Son, I am proud." There's a room for Nokia to bring this up to date with their new models, right? And they don't just have to say, "Well, that was a thing back in our analog days. Let's forget about it."
Incredible. All right, so it's about listening to what you actually mean, yeah. And then sometimes, like my grandma always said to me, it's hard to listen when you're talking. So I think that's the case here for brands like Nokia and all the other brands that are trying to find what their brand story really is. All right, Graham, thanks a lot for your time.
Thanks, Ghani.
All right, that's it for this show today. I'm Ghani Kunto. This is Youth Marketing Academy.
Youth Marketing Academy. Get the latest insights at www.youthmarketingacademy.com.